Welcome, you're watching the NWR Mining Resources series. I'm joined by Wits Mining. Wits Mining is an exploration and development company targeting gold in two premier regions, Witwatersrand in South Africa and the Pilbara in Australia. Presenting today, we have Jack van Heerden, Managing Director of Wits Mining, dialing in all the way from Johannesburg in South Africa. Over to you, Jack.
Great, thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to meet with you and present our projects to you. Hi there, everybody. Yeah, I'll be introducing Wits to you as a mining company. We're a small cap mining company listed on the ASX. Just please read through our disclaimer and familiarize yourself with everything there. As Laura mentioned, we've got two projects, one here in South Africa and then another one in Australia. Both of them we see as quite exciting targets for us. In fact, the one in South Africa that contains about 3.5 million ounces at a grade of 4.2, we've just completed a DFS that showed very strong results for us, and that's the one that we're now busy putting into operation. Then we've got our Mount Cecelia project in WA, where we've just completed a aerial survey and a ground survey, and we're now evaluating prospective drill areas so that we can look at starting a maiden drilling campaign in 2022. A bit about our company. As I mentioned there, we are small cap listed on the ASX. We currently have a market cap of about 70 million Aussie. And we recently raised some money that put us into a stronger cash position, where we now have about 6 million Aussie in the bank. So that 6 million will allow us then to start early works on the mine, and then also do further exploration at our Mount Cecelia project. If I can just quickly introduce you to the board and to the management team here on South Africa. We've got myself sitting there. I've got extensive experience in operations and in projects in Africa. Then we've got Mr. Michael Quinnett, our chairman and also the founder of the company. He's been with the company for quite a while. And then another prominent lawyer that's helped us in South Africa is Hume Scholes. And the second person or third person I would just like to point out is Tozama. She's been instrumental here in South Africa for obtaining our mining rights and also assisting us with all the regulatory issues going forward. So this team is well set up to execute the projects here in South Africa as well as in Australia. Right, if I can just quickly jump into our South African project. The South African project is located in an area that's been extensively mined for the past 100 years. This specific area that we've got is about 15 kilometers outside of Johannesburg, and it's in a very well-renowned mining area. The benefit of that being close to Johannesburg like that is you've got all the skills, all the supply chain, everything available to you, and it's not like we have to create a brand new camp somewhere in the jungle. So we're quite fortunate to have this ore body. There's 3.5 million ounces and growing, that we can add to this. We've applied for prospecting rights. So, we see a bright future for our project here in Johannesburg. If I can just quickly show you where we are located. This picture that you see on the right-hand side, that area there, as I mentioned, is about 15 kilometers to the west of Johannesburg. It is in a renowned mining area. Our plans are to restart some of the old shafts that's in the area. And you can see there on the left-hand side, we still have a significant ore resource of 3.5 million ounces, of which I think we've got to highlight the fact that we've got about 2/3 of that sits in measured and indicated. So we've got a very well-defined ore body as well to take us forward. We've recently completed a feasibility study, which we announced, but it's important for everybody to understand that our feasibility study that we announced is stage 1 of 5 potential stages that we can put into operation. The graph on the left-hand side shows that we've got, the various stages of operations to put that into operation, and that was part of our scoping study that we announced earlier, where that shows that we've got a significant ore body of running between 80 and 90,000 ounces for 15 years that we can produce, and then of which then our Kala Shallows project, if you look on the right-hand side, then can produce about 50,000 ounces to 55,000 ounces per annum over a period of about 12 years. So we're quite excited to put this project now into operation, and I'll get to a slide where we talk about the early works a bit further. As I mentioned, we recently announced our DFS study, in which we were able to declare about 280,000 ounces in reserve, which is very significant for us. As I mentioned, we've got a 17-year life of mine. And then one thing that our feasibility study showed us is that we can produce at a very competitive rate here in South Africa, with an all-in sustaining cost of about $11.44 US per ounce. And then the reason why I mentioned the all-in sustaining cost there is that we've got such a long life of mine. So for a long period of time, we should be producing at about $10.27 per ounce. So that makes it a very competitive project here in South Africa. We require only about 50 million in peak funding, and as I mentioned, that is specifically utilizing old shafts. Part of the plan is that we'll rehabilitate the box cut and we'll rehabilitate the old declines and then start developing the mine from there. And that, if you put everything together, it ends up with a very exciting NPV of about 150 million US. And I must just stress, this is stage 1 of 5. So we're quite excited to get this one into operation and then to roll the other stages into feasibility phases and to get them into operation as well. I've spoken about our early works a bit, and you can see there on this picture on the left-hand side, we've actually started with our bush clearing. You can see there the box cut that's available that's now nicely cleaned up, and our geotechnical teams and our technical services teams are now in process of just rehabilitating that box cut there, rehabilitating the brow, and then allowing the production teams access into the area. This is quite a nice picture for me because you can see it's in an old mining area. It's quite a far distance away from any housing, so we're not disturbing anybody. And because we're just putting up a small little shaft with some surface infrastructure, we expect our impact on the local communities to be very little. We don't have a plant in that area. One of our initiatives is to look at a toll treating arrangement in the area. So we're not going to put up a plant and we don't have to spend the capital. We've got extensive processing capacity in the area. So we are in talks with some of the processors in the area for a toll treat arrangement, and that is quite well advanced. Another thing that we've starting to look at now with the sort of the change in the uranium prices is that we sit on quite an extensive exploration target for uranium. We've announced that back in 2008, and then we've now decided that because we are looking at mining one of the gold and uranium bearing reefs, we would then also relook at the opportunity there to define our current uranium exploration target into a JORC compliant resource. So you can see there, that's the stages that we're going for. We've got the old data, we're dusting it off, we're talking to the old competent persons that did the old study for us, and we'll be announcing sort of during the over a short period of time the upgrade of our exploration target and what we plan to do with our uranium asset, if I might call it like that. So we're quite excited to get that more defined and to put that, to get a better understanding for our uranium initiative. Then, if we jump over to our prospect there in WA, we're quite excited about that. It's right in the middle of where a lot of action is taking place at the moment. A lot of prospective ground is in that area. And we went last year, we did an aerial survey and we used SkyTem technology, which I believe is some of the better technologies out there. And through that process, we've identified 8 targets through our aerial survey, and we narrowed it down to 4 more highly prospective targets in our ground survey. So what we're planning at the moment is we're going through all the steps to have a drill-ready campaign in 2022 when the drilling season opens up again. So we're quite excited what that's going to yield for us, and yeah, we'll keep you up to date as we progress that project also in WA. So just to finalize this, the work that we're planning in South Africa, as I mentioned there, we've just declared a DFS here in South Africa, so we're putting our Kala Shallows projects into operation. And then in November, we will start with our feasibility studies on the other stages and then roll them over into an operation as soon as possible. And then I think just as a final highlight, we've got a project here in South Africa that's able to produce up to about 95,000 ounces, a very long life of mine, and at a very competitive operating cost of $11.44. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you. And then if there's any questions, I'm quite happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacques. We've got a few questions for you. We've got one about the uranium resource and its interaction with gold. Is there a possibility of declaring a mineral resource estimate for uranium?
Well, that is exactly what we're busy working on. We've got that exploration target now, and we will be working with our geologists to be able to produce a JORC-compliant resource, over time. So we're focusing on that. If I say over time, in the near future, let me put it like that, because we're just gathering all the old information, and then we can see what we've got, and then we'll decide if we need 1 or 2 more boreholes, or we'll determine what's required to then convert our target into a JORC-compliant resource.
And with 3.5 million ounces, how long do you think you'll be able to maintain production? Someone's estimated maybe 35 years. Do you have a timeline on that one?
Yeah, look, as I showed in that slide there, we've got the 5 stages of mining, of which we said we can maintain between 80 and 90,000 ounces for about 15 years, and then it drops off to about 70 to 80,000 ounces with a full life of mine of about 25 years. So yeah, so it's an extensive life of mine that we've got in South Africa.
Question here for you around Warwick Grigor's weekly report, which suggested there could be 22 million pounds of uranium at the WBP. Just to recap, what is your plan for the uranium given the current interest in uranium globally?
Look, as I just mentioned, we announced in 2008 a exploration target, and now with sort of the uptick in the uranium price, we've got that area sits mainly in our current mining right area. And we've applied for uranium as part of our mining right here in South Africa. So now our job is now to convert that exploration target into a JORC-compliant resource. And we want to do that as quick as possible. We're sitting with the geos at the moment to understand the process that we've got to go through to be able to convert that into a JORC compliant resource.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining us from Johannesburg, Jacques.
All right. No, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.